Do not trust the mind, because when you ask it, what does liberation mean? It will say, well, it means that everything will be perfect. Everything will just be comfortable and fluffy, I'll just be just as enlightened as Ramana. And everything will be perfect. There will be no fear, no suffering. Everything will just be perfect. But when you're asking the heart, what does liberation mean? It will say something that's very different. And let it be as it is. No need to force anything. If there's anger or suffering or sadness, let that be. Accept that. It accepts imperfection. It is open and vulnerable. That's the heart's version of enlightenment or liberation. It is no longer trying to avoid suffering. Therefore, it's no longer afraid of suffering. Therefore, it does not suffer. I understand it when there's this inner pain and suffering. Therefore, and there's this almost like this self-hate, and you just want to become free, and you were, trying to find someone that's giving you the right answer, some concept or idea that will liberate you. But that's actually just avoiding this inner suffering. The answer is actually just, at least in my experience, the answer is just to explore the suffering instead of avoiding it. Like, stop trying to be untouchable. Become very vulnerable and allow yourself to be consumed by the pain. Become one with it. And when you are one with that pain, then there's just this raw acceptance of what is. There will be less thoughts. And when thoughts appear, you just see them as what they are thoughts. So it's completely effortless, but it feels real. Like you're not using a technique to get rid of your suffering. You're actually being real with yourself, and you are accepting what is here. You're inside of the storm, and you're real with yourself, and the heart says, that's already liberation, because it accepts that you are not perfect. But it still loves you. Like, that's the language of the heart. It sees everything is imperfect, but it still loves everything. When the mind is gone and there's just the heart and there's just this open vulnerability, then there's this natural rest. And when you rest in there, then there's just this peace, this silence. And when you stay in that, again, at least that's my experience. When you stay in that open vulnerability, in that acceptance of imperfection, there will be this love that transcends the human understanding. And thoughts will be gone, suffering will be gone. There's just this very natural feeling of home. And that's what I call consciousness. You know, because the mind is trying to find the right teaching. There are so many different teachings out there. But you have to find your own truth. My truth is when I'm turning inside and I'm accepting the imperfection, and I'm accepting that humans are imperfect. They feel things, they suffer, they have pain and sadness and anger. And I have it inside of me too. And then I'm just accepting it, and I'm there and I'm feeling it. And there's just this, you know, it's just something is embracing it. And then there's this peace, and that's my truth. Because when I'm inside of this, I can, you know, then I no longer have the need to search for truth, because that's just my truth. But the mind is trying to find the right truth. You know, there are like so many variations of the truth. Like, there's radical non-duality. They say there's no consciousness, and I can see it. You know, there are glimpses where it's unexplainable but obvious that everything is one and the same, unnameable isness. In those glimpses, I do not have the feeling that there is a consciousness. But there are actually also other variations of the truth, like things Mooji teach or Rupert Spira of consciousness, but they are all different still. They're talking about the same thing, but they teach it differently. That's, you know, confusing for the mind. So you have to actually be real with yourself and find your own home. And to me, when I'm just real with myself, and there's just this acceptance and open heart, and of course those are just words again. But then when there's this acceptance and realness with myself, then I can feel that spaciousness, like something is going beyond my body. Then I call that consciousness. And it's not about attaining that. It's not an effort. It's really more what naturally happens when you're just tired of it. When you're just tired of trying to you know, get it, understand it, and you finally choose to sit down, and instead of trying to avoid the pain, you sit with it, and you do not use a technique to get rid of it, and you sit with it until it goes away. And things will change. Like there will be moments where there's just pure bliss, or there are like very deep meditation states where there's like you can see things and you can see the light. But those are also just temporary moments. And holding on to those moments is, again, suffering. But the heart says it's okay. The mind says it's not okay. The mind says if you would be enlightened, you wouldn't suffer. Shame on you. So listen to the heart. Because it teaches you to be more compassionate with yourself. And when you are able to be compassionate with yourself, then you're naturally able to be compassionate with others. Then that's like real love. You can only love other people when you can love yourself. And you cannot love yourself through effort. Just be with yourself in silence.